Welcome to the Born for Better podcast. It's about better health, better wealth, and better self. And I'm your host, Devin DeWine. And today I have a special treat for you all. I have someone who literally, she has been in this music game for a little over 8 years. She dropped an EP album, and then she turned around and dropped the actual album. And she literally has been blowing up the charts with her hits. She is a hip hop artist, and she's literally conscious. She's soulful. She's spiritual. She is talented. She is the wonderful Miss Aasha Marie. If you can give it up for her. Yes, indeed. Aasha, how are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
No problem, no problem. It is definitely well deserved. This is going to definitely be informal. This is not this is not one of those interviews where I'm going to just ask you a million and one questions. I want it to flow, and that way the audience kind of gets a genuine feel of you and just, what it is that you do, what it is that you bring to the table, etc. So the first thing I wanted to ask is just about the music in general. Like what made you want to get into music? What was calling you to do that?
If I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. If 5 or 10 or 15 years had passed by and that passion that I had deep inside, like burning inside of me, if I never did anything with it as far as produce or created anything, I would have been really upset with myself and regretful. And that's one regret I didn't want to have in life. And so I had an old boss, and she used to tell me, Aasha, I want you to run after things that give you energy and passion. And I took that with me, and I never stopped. And so music is just one of those things that I'm obsessed with, and I had to do it. It was just that I've had little nudges along the way from friends and people in my community, but it was literally one of those things where I obsessed over, like, it's now or never. I didn't need to do it, or I'm going to be crying about it. And so I had to do it. I had to push past whatever fear reservations I had.
Wow.
And pursue music.
Now, would you say that you knew from the start what you wanted to do? Like you just knew I was born to do music. and was there some hesitancies in the beginning, that kind of said, you know what, I want to step back from this?
In the beginning, I was just trying to survive. And so like many African Americans who live in Chicago, I'm the product of the Great Migration. So my people came from the South, from Mississippi, and then they migrated up here on trains to Chicago. And their aspirations for me and my siblings and my cousins was just like, go to school, go as far as you can go. We definitely want to have some doctors and some lawyers and all of that, but I was not academically gifted. Like I barely made it through high school, but I was always into the arts and music, right? I was never I always wanted to be like the textbook, just super smart. Like I'm smart, but I wasn't like just academically just gifted, like oriented in that way. But like I'm straight A's and B's. Like no, I was like
I understand
B plus C's. I just didn't try, and I think I just wasn't motivated. And there were things in my life that I think contributed to that happened to me, but that just wasn't my path. And no, I didn't know what I wanted to do. When I went to college, I got into journalism because I was like, well, I like writing and I do write a lot. So let me just do journalism. But when I graduated from college, I was just like, okay, what now? And I ended up working a bunch of odds and ends jobs just to literally keep gas in the car and keep my phone on and just survive. So I was just kind of cruising through life. I didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do. But when music kind of became the thing I couldn't get away from, that's when it just kind of turned into that. I have been working as an administrative professional for years, like at different colleges and universities. I kind of fell into that. So that was like my 9-to-5 gig. But then with music, I felt like God just started placing people in my life to encourage me and push me in that direction. And then it just took on a life of its own. So no, I didn't know that was what I wanted to do. But once I became like an adult, I was just like, okay, this is something that I love and I enjoy, and I need to really pursue it for real. And yeah, that's how that transition happened to
And
music.
I'm glad you're being open about it, because there's this expectancy that you're supposed to know what you're supposed to do when you're in school, and then you get out of high school and you're going to college, because absolutely you're going to get that degree and the thing that you want to do. It's this invisible expectancy out there that we should know. And I'm so proud that you continue to push forward and figure it out. But most importantly, you decided to seek out answers for yourself. Like, is this something I really want to pursue? And just even you saying, okay, well, I can't live without it, proves that, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the initial point when you first started getting into the music. What was going through your head? And especially for those who are saying, well, I want to get into music too. I don't know how. I don't know what to do.
Yep. So my brother was a producer, songwriter, just a musical genius all around. He, when we started doing any type of recording, it was in his closet at our father's house. So he had a little booth set up in there. And when I started doing music, and that was like the first studio. And then I met another young man, kid from the neighborhood. We grew up with him. He was a producer, super talented guy. And he introduced me to like real studios, like real legit state of the art studios. So I started songwriting and working with him, and simultaneously working with my brother, writing hooks and, recording, singing hooks and stuff like that. So that was how I started. But I had a friend, he was like, Aasha, I know you write and you do poetry and you used to rap. He was like, you should really get back into it. Because at that point, I was like 23. I was like 22, 23. Now, I had started rapping when I was like 15, 16, and I had always been in music. But he was like, you should be an artist. And I was like, no, I don't know if I could do that. And then he was like, no, you should really, I think you can do it. And so like, maybe like, and he didn't know, like around that time I was writing, like I would be waking up 2, 3 in the morning writing rhymes. Cause I was like, I have this idea in my head or this concept. I need to write it down. So that was happening simultaneously. It was all orchestrated by God. And that I know, because he was just like pushing me to do it. And so my brother had an opportunity to live and work in LA as a producer. And I said, hey, let me go through some of your tracks and I'll just pick some out and, put it to what I'm writing. So I picked out some tracks, and I had, through him, I got connected to Classic Studios. And that's actually the studio like Chance the Rapper has recorded there, Smino, Saba, like a lot of Chicago rappers and stuff, they've all recorded there. And I think Classic manages, I know he manages like Smino, maybe some other artists, but the owner of that studio. So my brother and my cousin used to record there, and they're really heavy in the music scene here in Chicago and in LA. And so I was like, can you connect me with them? So I started recording there. And then I just got connected to other people, like through just colleagues and work relationships. Hey, this person does graphic design. So I got them, and he's a photographer, videographer. So it just kind of came through just relationships with really artistic people, or saying, hey, I'm looking for somebody that does this, or this or this or that. Sometimes I think when you're first starting out, you don't always have the language or the words to articulate what you're looking for. And sometimes you don't know what you're looking for until you're in the situation. So, but nowadays you have Pinterest, you have IG, you have like, I'm looking for somebody who can do this. Like literally save the photo, save the video or whatever, and say a graphic designer, a person that can do this, because now you can use social media as your connector. But for me, I was living in the house with some incredible artists and musicians that just had connections and knew a lot of people. So that was my segue into that.
It was all around you. Like that's crazy that you had all of this talent all around you. I mean, in the house, down the block. Most people would kill to have, talent like that around.
And they were recording themselves, like my cousin and my brother. They're both younger than me by like 3 years, but they have been recording themselves and writing songs and stuff for years. So by the time I got around to, I was like, I didn't know how to put a project together, but I'm going to take these songs that I feel are the best songs at the time and put them together and just ask them for their feedback. And they kind of took, you know what I mean? Like they kind of helped me along the way. but I was really blessed, to, like I said, to be in that situation because they had already been doing it since they were like 13. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
so yeah.
Wow. And so now, being in the music, what would you say has been one of your greatest joys in being involved with your passion?
Creating. I love the process of the creation. Because it's like, when I first sit down, like if I'm writing a song or I'm getting together with the musicians or the producers, excuse me, and we're arranging, it's always like this gut feeling like you're on the verge of something great. Even it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it. It's just that like everything is flowing for you. Everything feels so good to you because it's like, yes, I'm literally on the verge of something amazing. And just being in that creative space, there is nothing like it. Like I love that moment because I never know where the song is going to end up. I don't know where the sound is leading, but it's just like when we all get in the room together and start creating, from the process of me writing the song and getting in the arranging process and then getting together with the singers and they start harmonizing and vocalizing and it's just so beautiful. And to me, it's just like, I just really feel God there. Cause it's like God places that in us, like music in us and those gifts in us. And when you start using it and creating it, I'm like, man, that's high art. Like that's something that's just really special and beautiful that I can do this and create something amazing.
So, I mean, you talk about the creative aspect of things, and it's obvious that you created some beautiful works. So,
Thank
share
you.
with us. Oh, no problem, no problem. Share with us the EP that you came out with, right? Breaking Obscurity, and then share with us just how that led to the album, right?
Mm-hmm.
WYWS. Like, just kind of give us some insight on that.
Yeah. Breaking Obscurity, at the time I was living in West Inglewood at my dad's house, and that's when I started recording and writing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to seriously pursue being an artist. And I had a lot of people around me that was like, I know Aasha's into music, I know she sings, but I don't know exactly what she does. So I kind of wanted to break the obscurity of that to say, I'm Aasha, I'm here. At that time, I was still trying to figure out my sound and my message, like what I wanted to say, how I wanted to convey it. So I was still trying to figure that out. But that project, it was just like 5 songs. One of them was a poem that my friend did to contribute to this song that I wrote about 3 instances of abuse. A lot of the music was inspired by what I was living and seeing in West Inglewood at that time. Like growing up, I always been in a church that was in the hood. And so you have those two things juxtaposed side by side. Like you see everything,
Mm-hmm.
you see the religiosity of the church, but you also see all the turmoil of the street. And in my work, like in my artistry, especially with my rap, I always like to do that. Like to paint those pictures and tell those stories because they're interesting to me. That's how I grew up. Like growing up on 63rd Street, right by the Green Line, like 63rd and Ashland, where the L is. I mean, you see prostitution, you see a lot of drug addicts, you see a lot of the societal kind of woes and stuff that you see in the hood. So it's like, I can't help, like I'm walking to church, but I see that. I'm leaving church and I see that. And at nighttime, 63rd Street, you see prostitutes, you see all these things like right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that inspired a lot of my music because I have a song on the album it's called Woes, and it's about just the stuff that I saw, like, and I rode the Green Line for a long time, like for many years to get to work, to get to school and back. And I had to ride to the end of the line. So you saw everything from downtown to the end of the line. Yeah, 63rd and Ashland, that's the end of the line. So I saw everything like on the train and so I wrote about what I saw. And then the song Breaking Obscurity was about, this is what I see in the hood. Like I see people selling drugs, like I see these things, but it's just like, where do I fit into all this? Like I want to be the voice. Like how can I be the voice directing people away from that? Because growing up, like when you're immature, you're trying to figure out who you are, you following the crowd, you doing what you feel you got to do to be accepted and to fit in until until you become an adult. And it's like, I have a choice. Like I have a choice. I can say no. I can go the opposite direction. I hear stories all the time from doing ministry alongside my husband in Inglewood of a lot of young men. They were born into the gangs. I was born on the gang block. My uncle was in gangs, my mom, my aunt, and all of that. And from their perspective, it's like I didn't have a choice. I was kind of born into it, but you always have a choice. You know what I mean? You may not always be ready for the consequences, right, of saying no. The consequences of saying, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm not going to hang with y'all this time. I'm not going to go with y'all. You might not be ready for the consequences, right? But you always have a choice. You do.
Ooh.
And so for me, my music was that choice. And again, it's like, am I ready to deal with the repercussions of that or the consequences? Yes. Because when you put out work publicly, especially now in this age of social media, there's a comment section. Now, all the comments will be favorable towards you. Some people going to say some nice things. Some people might say some nasty things, right? Some people might challenge you. So that comes with the territory of being an artist, even if you're not signed to a major, even if you're just indie, right? But I feel like, man, God equipped me with this gift. He's going to equip me with everything I need that comes along with that too. I just have to move smart and move wise and surround myself with wise people. So, I mean, the community that you surround yourself with is major key because they can speak into your life. They can challenge you. They can hold you accountable. I have friends who are like, man, your favorite rapper's rapper. They have great lyricism and talent. And so I'm not going to, like, I'll hear their bars and be like, no, I need to push my pen a little harder. You know what I mean? But that's, so Breaking Obscurity, that was the first project. Again, it was inspired by the neighborhood I was in and what I was seeing and feeling at the time. And also this newfound faith of becoming a new Christian at 24 and articulating that, but not removing myself from my surroundings, right? Because the situation around the church and around where I was growing up may not change, but God changed me in the midst of the situation. You know what I mean? Like everything is still the same. You know, I still see the same prostitution, the drug addiction, all these things, the gang banging, the violence. But
it was just internal.
But I'm changed in the middle of it. So that's what that project was about. Then while you were sleeping, it was like, okay, I know the sound I want to go for. I come from a musical background. I'm going to bring in some more live instrumentation. I want to tell some stories, right? So I've grown. So while you were sleeping shows the growth in me saying, I'm not afraid anymore of my message, of who I am as a Christian, but also where I come from. Like Inglewood and West Inglewood, I love that neighborhood with everything in me because that's where I became of age. You know, that's what contributed to how I speak and how I interact with people and everything that I learned in my love for Chicago. I came from that neighborhood. So that project was a declaration of, it's like, you know how like everybody else like be sleep to maybe what you do. And for me, it was like, I'm introducing myself. Like, here I am. I'm finna bust the door wide open and this is what I'm presenting to the world. But also for myself to say, you can do it. You have all the tools and resources you need. You need to wake up to that. And that's what that project represented for me. So, yeah. Ooh. And then now I'm working on the gospel EP. That was something I was afraid to do for a long time because I didn't want to be a front facing artist and do all the narration stuff like Kurt Franklin. It's your boy. Yeah, Kurt Franklin. Like, I didn't want to do that. Like, you know, I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to. I was like, man, I have these amazing songs that I've penned and I just want to write the songs and arrange the music, like the vocals. So that is another side of me I wanted to showcase. So the gospel EP is just another genre and another pocket I wanted to do. Cause I was like, man, why not utilize all of my talent and not keep anything hidden? And that album is called Signs of Life because it was recorded during this pandemic. And, I thought as an indie artist, I was like, man, everything is on pause. I haven't even been doing any shows. One of my best friends, who's one of the main producers, he got sick with COVID. He was hospitalized for 8 days.
Wow.
We didn't know what was going to happen to him. We didn't know. And then he had lost his father simultaneously at the same time. And there were so many people around me getting sick. And I was just like signs of life. It was like, I'm looking for signs of life, just physically, but also spiritually, but also musically. So that's why I titled the project that, because it was like, how do I keep going and try to find a lifeline?
Yeah, it's a lot going on
in the middle of things being shut down, you know, because we didn't know what was going to come of everything and everybody. So that explains like each musical project and just how it just kind of just grew out of one thing into another. So yeah,
Wow.
those
I
three
mean, the
projects.
the fact that you can be raised in West Englewood, and as we know, that's one of the toughest places in, the country to be raised in, and then to take a totally different path. And the one thing you say on multiple occasions is you have a choice. You have a choice. And sometimes people don't really believe they have that choice.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that is? That people don't believe there is a decision that I can make to go a different path?
Internal pressures and external. So the internal is just yourself, whatever conversations you have within yourself that can be caused by trauma, your family system, situational, your mental state. All those things contribute to you feeling like there's not a way out, hopeless, like hopelessness, feeling like there's
Hmm.
no hope, essentially, whether that's internal or external pressures. I think people believe
Wow.
lies that they tell themselves and lies that they tell from other people. And sometimes you feel trapped because you're around the same surroundings, you're around the same people who talk the same, who talk negative. They don't speak words that edify or build up. They speak things that tear down. They speak things that are negative. I think it's just a result of hopelessness and people believe in lies that affects your confidence and affects your ability to see beyond what you can see, you know.
Yeah.
But there's always hope. And I think that's a part of the frailty of humanity, is that we can only see as far as our eyes can see. We never exactly see beyond that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole world out there. This may be happening in your block, but there's a whole city in Chicago. I mean, Chicago has different cultures. Just if you drive from South Lakeshore Drive to North Lakeshore Drive, you see a disparity. You know what I mean? Like, you see
Yeah.
there's a difference. There's a different quality of life. There's different, you know what I mean? Ethnicities and cultures and stuff. And I think it's just that. It's just people. It's like, what gives you sight beyond sight? It has to be hope. Like, you have to hope in something. Like, for me, it's Christ, it's God. I'm going to hope in Christ and God, because every day he gives me breath, I'm to do something with my life, with my body. I'm to make an impact, right? Like, I have breath in life for a reason,
You're a
and I
vessel.
have
Yeah.
to live, you know. But I
Yeah.
think people, I think there are things that have just shut out hope in people's lives, and that's why they believe and think and act the way that they do. A lot of the violence in Chicago, right, is hopelessness and not valuing life. They don't know how to value life.
And it's such a sad reality, as we both come from Chicago, and we have grown up and seen many different things, and having to deal with that and still having to make a conscious decision to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, my hats go off to you and people like you,
Thank you.
who are making that happen, because we need more examples of that. We need more role models. We need better characters to look up to. And I want to ask this question, and I like to ask people this question because it draws a pivotal point in a person's life. And that is, when did you realize that you were born for better? You could talk about a moment in time,
Mm-hmm.
maybe give a story, but when did you realize that?
Um. Well, that's a really good question. When did I realize? I had the same friend that had encouraged me to get into music, like to pursue it as an artist. Every time I would see him, we went to the same college, so I would run into him often. And when I wasn't physically around him, there was social media, so he would like check in on me, send me like Facebook messages, and he was always challenging me. I mean, from who I was dating, like guys I had no business being with, and to just things I was doing in my life. I really know
Wow.
that God sent this young man into my life. He was challenging me all the time, and I hated it.
Don't
I
you?
hated it so much. I did, and but when I would be by myself, and I would be thinking about things that he would say and things that he would point me, it would be like Bible scriptures, or just the quality of life, like examining my relationships, things that, because sometimes happiness can be deceiving, right? Like,
This
sometimes you could
can.
surround yourself with things and people that that make you happy, or things that you feel are filling a longing or a void or a hole in your life or in your soul. And it's not, it's just, you're giving it that attention and that power. You're making it an idol in your life, but it's really not sustaining you. It's not making you any better. It's, you know, it's just something that you're giving your energy to. You're making it more than what it is. And so it was in those moments when I would get by myself, I would think about a lot of those things. Like, I feel like he was just an instrument that God was using to point me that you are born for better. You're born for me. Like, you aren't living your God-given potential, what I've placed in you. Like, you're just following after people, things that you think will make you happy. Whoever told you, like, this is the model of success, Aasha. This is what you need to do, what you need to pursue. That's what you're pursuing. So it was in those moments I would be by myself in my room, and I would think about those things and be like, man, I know I need to get out of this. I know I need to be moving differently. So those were those moments. And there was one moment in particular, like I said, I was in my room and I was just like, man, I need to cut off these people, this type of thinking, and I need to move differently. And it was like I made that decision that day. I prayed, I cried out to God. I said, God, help me, because I need to move differently and I want to be different. I want to be better. And man, I really think God rescued me in that moment. And I had people that I didn't even know about that God provided me. I had a community. I had people willing to walk and do life with me. So I realized like I wasn't alone, because I think that was one of the lies I believe, like, because sometimes we do that damage to ourselves. Like, oh, if I leave this, I'm going to be lonely. I'm not going to have anybody. I don't have the money. And it's just like, no, God is going to provide you everything you need. Like, I have everything that I need if I step out on faith and I really pursue this, whatever it is. You just have to really dare to believe that you are born for better. And
Wow.
the action behind it, you know what I mean? Like, if you believe you're born for better, what is going to be the fruit of it? Like, are your actions going to follow? And I think that was that moment for me. Like, this was like right after college. So this was around the same time, like 23, 24 years old. That's when my life just really, transformed. And I gained my confidence too, like in those moments, because I didn't have any confidence or strength or grounding before that. But in that moment, it was like, yes, God, like, I'm gonna go all the way. All the things that I've been dreaming about and hoping for, I'm gonna trust you and I'm gonna do it.
Wow. We could just cut the show right here, because that was intrinsically powerful. That was a deep message. And the reason why I always like to ask that question is because it challenges us to go back to that point, right? Because at a certain point, we were moving the wrong way. We know it. We know it. And you had it right. You hit the nail on the head. We're following the pack.
Yeah.
We're following the crowd, but the crowd is leading us astray. It's definitely not leading us to who we truly are meant to be. So you've referenced God on multiple occasions throughout this conversation, and it is definitely a sure thing at this point that you believe in a higher power. You believe in a greater source. You know, when did you get into that? What drew you to that? And how did that relationship exalt you?
Yeah. I mean, growing up in church, like you can be in something and a part of something, but your heart really not be transformed, like, by it from the inside out, right? Like, I always like to talk to, students and like my mentees and be like, how do you know an apple tree is an apple tree? You don't see apples on it. You're not going to see peaches on it, because if you see peaches on an apple tree, it's not what it is. And growing up, like, we knew who the drug dealers were. Why? We're going to see them in that same car. We're going to see the customers. We're going to see the money. Like, we know a drug dealer is a drug dealer because we see the fruit of it, Just the same way I knew a prostitute was a prostitute. You're going to see her out there. She's going to be out there every night, doing what she does. So for me, it was just like, I grew up in the church environment. My father was a pastor, but I didn't know God. It was just, you can go through the motions. You can just do things because it's cultural, because it's familial. You know what I mean? Just because it's, just a part of you, it's expected of you, but you're not really doing it from the heart. I mean, I probably at like 4 or 5 years old, because I went to Christian school, I could quote scripture from rote memory. 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. There are people who they haven't been to church in years and they know John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Everybody know that, right? But it's a huge contrast, right? A stark difference in when you really know, and your life is just switched up. And for me, I felt like I made myself very, very comfortable in my life and in my lifestyle with things that I felt would kind of keep me going. And it wasn't God. It was just like the relationship I was in, the friendships I had. And then it came to a point, those things were ruptured. Like they just started falling around me. And when those things start crumbling, I realized very quickly, I was like, man, like, what was I thinking? Like these things are gone and now I feel like I'm nothing and nobody without them. When in essence that wasn't true, but I had made them the gods of my life. You know what I mean? Like those were the gods of my life. And a lot of it was out of ignorance and just being human and flawed and sinful. But I think, when I got challenged, when you get presented with truth, because the truth always stands on its own, and it always stands outside of you until you receive it and you take it in and it becomes so much a part of your life. And for me, the gospel truth, all right, I knew Jesus died, he rose again. They tell us that growing up in church all the time, but I didn't know what that meant for my life. I didn't know that had any implications on my life. So I talk about God a lot because, man, he's the author and the finisher, the beginning and the end of my life. Like the only reason I'm able to do music the way that I do and live my life is because of him. Because I know it was him, those times in my room when I would ponder on what the young man was saying, switched up my whole worldview. Like I exist for him. Like everything I have and I own is because of him. And I think what's interesting, like in my family, I had a family that dealt with poverty, and then I had the family that was well off. So I was able to see both. And so the message to me always was, man, the American dream. Go to school, get your degree, make a lot of money, get married, White House picket fence, have some kids, live it up. But when you become an adult and you start going through life and you hit those rough patches, it's like, it's not like that. There's struggle, there's pain. And what the Bible calls Christians to, right? Because I'm a Christian. I became a Christian at 24 when I made that choice. It's very simple. It says, be content with the things that you have, which is a great, not just great platitude, but a great truth, because then I won't be envious. I won't be greedy. I won't be chasing what I feel I need to have other people have. Like if you go in my closet right now, bro, I have so many shoes I don't even wear. Right. And, I have clothes I haven't even worn yet, stuff I bought that's just sitting like in there. Like, and I look at my life where I have food, I have clothes, I'm able to pay my bills, and I'm able to save some money and invest some money. And I'm man, I'm really, really blessed.
Come on.
And it's like I didn't realize how much I needed God until the things that I made God in my life were taken from me. And then I was like, man, what do I have left to stand on? Like, what am I building my life on? And, Jesus says, if you build your life on his words, you'll never be put to shame. He becomes everything and supplies you with everything you need. And ever since, like, I gave my life to Christ, like, I like nothing. I've dealt with depression. I had postpartum after I had my son because, I'm a first-time mom. And God got me through. Like, I don't see how anyone could live their life without God, because it's just like he's everything. He's given me all things to enjoy. And I think it helps me to look at life, that hope that I did not have before, because I was putting my hope in people and in things. Like, I always have that hope. Even on hard days, I still have struggles, there are still dark times, and I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. And that gives me hope. I think for all of humanity, for anybody who's listening to this podcast, like, you must hope. You must hope. Even when all you see is darkness, when the forecast just looks bleak and dark and dreary, you must hope. Because that breath in your body, that comes from God. That's the hope. And I love affirming. I like the title of this, Born for Better, because every human being has the breath of God in their lungs and they're born for better. You just have to reach for it. You know, you have to trust, you
Mm-hmm.
have to hope. And I just
Mm.
refuse to live as if there's no hope, because I know that's not true.
Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And it just you could tell obviously that you are a lyricist, just the way you collectively put together words. And I love people who are lyrical because I'm a lyricist myself, just with poetry and things of that nature. But that was just well
Thank you.
said. That was well said, and that's with all seriousness because we when you come from a place that lacks hope and you see it, this is a practice thing within your community, then it's hard to move throughout life with it. And if I'm going to add something to that, I would just say the hope comes from the faith. The faith and you know the Most High, the faith in something greater than yourself. That's basically powering you. You know, it's like the charger and you're the battery, right? It's powering you to move throughout life, and that's definitely evident with you. Is that there's a supercharger and you are a strong battery, and it's just gets kicking out wattage after wattage to keep you moving in the direction that you're moving in. So, you know, continue to be that for many of the young people, for many men, young women, and even our peers. Like sometimes we in our age group, we don't even see what's possible anymore because it seems like all of the imagination, all of the creativity, all of the dreams have been siphoned from us, and we have to go within.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say that God sits at the seat of the soul, right? So you got to go within to figure out who you are in the midst of this great presence.
And the
So
work, it's like a lot of times, like I know people, I encourage them to go to therapy and counseling, and I tell them, if you have the belief that it's not going to work, one, you're believing that it's a hopeless situation when we know it's not, because we have these resources for a reason. There are people who are equipped to help you, but you have to do some work in counseling and therapy. You know what I mean? Like it'll work for you when you do the work. Like you have to put in the work to have those conversations, to cut certain types of behaviors out of your life. Like you have to do the work to discipline yourself. And that comes with any dream, with anything as far as that you're pursuing in life. I think a lot of people don't, because we're in a kind of a culture where you have instant gratification on social media. People are able to rise to fame very quickly if you go viral. So a lot of times it's just like, people want to do the least bit of work or just enough to get by. But I mean, life overall, it doesn't work that way. Are you
yeah,
willing to put in the work? And you're going to have times where things are going to get hard. Then you have to learn to persevere. Like those things come so you can learn to persevere, and then they build your character, and then they build endurance, and they also help you so you can help somebody else. So I think people, underestimate the journey because it's just like, oh, it's not going to be easy. Nothing, nothing comes easy.
as we so wish it did, right?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I mean, with what we see going on in the world around us now, with the onset of social media and all of this technology, and it's like the world's just getting smaller and smaller as we have all these different platforms to connect. What do you think the society at large and the community around you needs more of, as far as like character, as far as role models? Like, what is it that we can do, to help out with what is going on around us?
I think I just talked about this recently on another podcast I was on. I think that people need to be willing to say or do the thing that freaks them out and that maybe will come at a cost. And I say that because in my life, I've had to have these risk the relationship conversations where it's like this behavior, my interaction or my behavior, like is bothersome, it's troubling, and it's not beneficial. And I need to say something or do something that's going to cut off a person or behavior or certain inclinations from me that will make me healthier. And it's hard because it's become habit. I'm used to it. I'm comfortable, and it's going to rub some people the wrong way. It's like the risk of relationship conversation or action is standing up for yourself. I think people need to stand up for themselves in such a way where, like I said, when you do what everybody else wants you to do, a lot of times you're miserable because you're just trying to keep them happy. But when you do what you want to do, what you know you're called to do, what you should do, you know what I mean? Like that's when, you're happy, because it's just like, I don't have to keep suppressing myself and my feelings and my thoughts and stuff to appease other people. And so I think having hard conversations is hard for most people. Like I know some people that are confrontational and stuff like that, but I mean conversations that are necessary. Like for instance, I had a friend that I think the friendship just served her. And I didn't always realize that until I would get in situations where like I would, need her, expect her to show up, and she just wouldn't. It would be like she would kind of demean me and be disrespectful. And I had put up with it like for like a long time. And then I was like, I know if I say this thing, she's going to fly off the handle. She's going to go off on me. She might curse me out, but I need to, because I deserve more respect than that. And I think people, now, needless to say, our friendship didn't continue after that because she took it how she took it. And I didn't do it in a respectful way. Like I did it in a way that was honoring to her, but I said everything that I needed to say. Say, this isn't helpful. This isn't beneficial for my growth, our growth together. And this needs to, you need to discontinue this or else we can't continue our relationship. And I know a lot of people, they just put up with stuff. Like my colleagues used to say when situations would happen at work, she'd be like, Aasha, just grin and bear it. And I'm like, I can only bear it for so long. Like I not that I'm angry or like walking around confronting people all the time, but some confrontations are necessary. So I think if people do the necessary confrontations and stand up for themselves, when you stand up for yourself, you stand up for other people. You know what I mean? Because it helps people realize that they have worth and value. And I think we need to instill those values and stuff in the culture too. But that's just my 2 cents about that. Because I've been doing that in my own life, and it'll continue to happen too.
There's
like some people out there, I say this for myself, you might have people who are poor money managers, and it doesn't matter how much, like they might ask you for money all the time, like every week. It doesn't matter how much money you give them. They're still going to be poor money managers, because you need to have the conversation with them and say, hey, do we need to sit down and do a budget? And that might make them upset, but then you don't want to keep enabling poor behavior with a poor money manager. Because you can, if I give you $20 here, $30 here, $40 here, every time you borrow money that you can't pay back because you're a poor money manager, like that's not going to help you, Yeah. So it's just like, I need to be able to have the conversation, knowing you're going to get mad, but hey.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I like what you said when you say, risk the relationship conversation. I like that. It got a little flow to it, but you have to be willing to risk it though. I mean, life itself is a big risk, if you're choosing to live, not just choosing to exist, but if you're really choosing to live this life, a quality life, and make something of yourself, it is a big risk that you're taking. And I can definitely appreciate a person who's willing to have those hard conversations, because it seems that nowadays communication is the hardest thing for people to do. But it's interesting because we live in a time where communication is at an all-time high with all of the different outlets and platforms and technologies that we can use. So it's it's just ironic that is taking place today. You are not only a person who has a music career, and not only a person of faith, not only a person who has done all of these musical projects, but your mom, your wife, your sister. How do you balance all of these different things, all of these titles, if you will, especially for the young ladies out there now, they have a lot on their plate. They got a lot that they want to, do, want to accomplish. How do you balance it all, and how can you kind of show them the way?
Yeah. So with my husband, when we met, we had so much in common just in our backgrounds. We were both musicians, like really young at an early age. We both were pastors' kids, so we understood the pressure and the judgment that came with that, with being a pastor's kid, how people sometimes don't really like let you live. They hold you to a higher standard, but it's just like, I'm a kid, just like all these other kids. So we understood that whole narrative and the expectations for us. But also, I think too, for a lot of times, like women don't think that they can have successful careers or things like that and be married, as if they're competing interests, and they are if you make it that way. But if you switch up your perspective, it's like, I have someone who's going to walk through life with me and be an addition to my life, that's going to help me in my pursuit of those things, to be my encourager and on my team. So I see my marriage as like, my husband is not my enemy. He's on my team. And there are times when we have arguments and disagreements about things, but we still love each other. Like, we still know how to agree to disagree and to work through conflict. And in any marriage, you have to be committed to working through conflict, because a lot of people aren't. A lot of people want to give up and like, nope. But it's just like, me and my husband both came into this with the understanding that, like, look, neither one of us are perfect. We're going to fail each other. We're going to disappoint each other. And he just told me this the other day. We had a conversation. He was like, I'm not perfect. I'm flawed, and I'm gonna mess up. But that's to be expected. But see it as you have somebody on your team who's rooting for you, who's your biggest cheerleader, biggest supporter. So that's how I see my marriage. And my husband and I both do music. He's a producer.
Nice.
We both are really goofy, So there's just a lot of things that we're able to really enjoy each other's company and enjoy each other's husband and wife, but help each other in our goals and our dreams. And when I became a mom, because my son was born April of last year, he just made a year old, April 25th. It was hard to juggle music. So I had to find times to get enough sleep and energy to take care of a newborn and a baby, but also complete projects that I had to slow down on, or projects had to come to a halt, because I was actively working and planning on like music videos and studio sessions and stuff when I had the baby. So I had to find the time to do that. So a lot of times it would be like, okay, if he's napping, I'm going to finish this song. Or I'm going to record while he's sleeping. Or, okay, my husband's home, he'll have him for a couple hours. So it's just about managing the time. So I had to do a lot of calendar assessment and calendar work to make sure that I could fit in all the things. Like now, I'm not doing as many shows as I did before. I was doing several shows like before my son, but now I'll probably do a show once every few months, if that. So my time is a lot different, but I'm still able to do what I need to do. And I think I'm blessed to be surrounded by a lot of moms who are creatives and artists as well. Wow. And they're still able to do it. One lady I know, she has 4 children, and she has her podcast. Now it's not easy, but it's possible. You know what I mean? And that's what I like to tell women. Like, yes, when you have a husband and a family and you're an artist and creative and career woman, priorities change. They're going to shift. The dynamic is going to change. Like, you might not have the same energy or the same time, but you can still do it. You just have to be more intentional about carving out time and just maybe making a schedule that works. But like, had I not seen women around me actively doing it, I wouldn't have known it was possible, but it totally is. I mean, think about it. Cardi B has 2 kids. Beyonce has 3 kids. So if you see these huge celebrities doing it, and then we're just, for us who are not signed, we're just indie artists, like, how much more can we do it? Like, they have full schedules. They go on tour. They flying all, across the country, across the world. They have to do press junkets and interviews. And so I'm like, yeah, they, what I'm saying is they have way busier schedules, like, and expectations on them and stuff. So I was like, I know it's possible. It's not easy, because you have to find childcare. Childcare is expensive. Everything in life, in addition to gas, is going up. Food is going up, right?
Yeah.
So money and stuff like that. But it's just like you just have to just try to navigate it the best you can, but do it with the team. I feel like anything, like as long as you have support around you, people, you have ample resources. You know what I'm saying? Like
People
you
are
have people,
resources.
yeah, that love, because you can't do anything alone, and like in a bubble, especially with art, artistry and creativity in the business. You need a team around you who can give you sound advice and can help you, help carry you along.
We weren't meant to do it alone. I say that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the case, then it would have been one person on the planet, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do
But
it in community.
I know we're kind of drawing near to the end, and I want to get this in. The woman that you are obviously is an incredible person, but what type of woman do you want to become? Like, if you can extrapolate your life out over the next few decades and say, you know what, when it's all said and done, this is what I want to be remembered for. This is how I want to have served. This is how I want to have given back. This is the creative works I want to leave behind. Who is that woman? What is she doing? What has she accomplished? Tell us what it is.
So I definitely want to be a mentor to young women, pour into a lot of young women. That's definitely something I'm doing now, and I want that to continue and to grow, and to see those women replicate that, like to do the same thing that I've done with them, like with other women, because I think that's beautiful, so that it continues. And I also want to, because I know how hard it is to be an artist, like an indie artist, and not have the funding and the financial support that you need. I want to be able to fund other artists' projects and dreams. And so I want to kind of get a foundation or organization up and running where I can support artists who have musical interests and musical talent and creative projects, creative ventures that they don't have the finances for, and be able to give grants to artists. And that's something I want to continue even after I'm gone, like to start something like that, because I've been able to have quite a few projects funded through grants. And it was, man, a huge blessing and a lifeline for me to continue my work. And just because, I'm wired that way, and I know several other people who are, like, I want to be able to see them, like, not be discouraged because they don't have what they need, but they also have, a resource to continue that work and to fund their projects.
Yes.
So in a nutshell, just to be able to provide financial support for artists, Black and brown artists in particular, because like I said, I know the struggle, and I know how hard it is and how it can be discouraging. And I don't want that to be a roadblock to someone's creativity. So that's what I want to do. That's where I see myself.
Ooh, world, look out. Look out. And see, you spoke right now. You just spoke it into existence. So frankly, it's already happened. It's just about, walking into it, and eventually it's going to come to pass. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's definitely why I wanted to ask that question. As we draw here to a close, final thoughts. What is it that you can say to or encourage people who want to be better? They're just looking for that inkling that, okay, I can make this happen. I can make this transition. I can make the choice. I can make the leap. I can make the jump. What is it that you would say to a person who wants to be better?
First, pray. Pray, ask God, say, God, show me you, and then show me who I am through you. What have you given me to be successful, to be impactful? Show me how to be born for better. Show me the direction I need to be going in, and He will answer. A lot of times we're looking in the wrong places. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is to surround yourself by people who are a little bit further along than you, who have a demonstrated track record of success, maybe in whatever field or area. It might be marriage, it might be finances, it might be someone that started a business, someone that's in music. Surround yourself with people who have done it, because it's a reminder that it's possible.
Hmm.
It's a reminder that there's hope, and it's also a reminder that you have tools and resources in people that you surround yourself by. And it also helps you increase your network. Because what I like to do is, and a lot of times you have to be willing to be humble and vulnerable. A lot of times I'll say, hey, I wanted to connect with you because I know that you're experienced in A, B, and C. Would love to set up a convo or whatever. If you can't, can you point me in the direction of someone who can, who would be willing? Be willing to do that, because that opens up the conversation. It opens up a network for you that you didn't have before. So I would say be willing to do that, because what you want to do is begin to establish a community that has resources and support to help you in whatever it is, so that you're not alone or thinking you're alone, right? And I think maybe even setting up some type of regular check-in with that person just to keep you on target and help you with goal setting. And I think the hardest thing to do is to be vulnerable and humble and say, like, I need help. A lot of people don't like doing that, but really, on this road to success and whatever it is, you'll need that. You'll need people to help you along and help push you. I would say that. And then also be patient. There are going to be some roadblocks. There are going to be things that come that discourage you, that throw you off guard. Mental, physical, emotional health, like all of those things play a role in you just becoming you and pursuing your goals. But be patient and know that, hey, sometimes there is a bump in the road, but I can continue, maybe not right now, but maybe tomorrow, maybe, in a few months or a few years from now. But don't let those bumps in the road just throw you off track. Just know it's a part of the process. It's a part of the journey of you becoming, like you said, born for better. So that would be my advice.
Man, Aasha, it has been a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I think that, when people listen to this, whether it's, weeks from now, months from now, years from now, they'll get a whole lot of insight just in this short amount of time that we had. And hopefully we can have you back again as you continue to do these big things within your music career. Ladies and gentlemen, you definitely want to check her out. And Aasha, if you can let people know where they can check you out at, shout out to social media, websites, things of that nature.
For sure. So I have a website. It's www.aashamarie.com. So Aasha spelled with 2 A's, AASHA. So aashamarie.com. And I also have a YouTube page. You can check out my latest music videos, interviews, and vlogs there. But yeah, www.aashamarie.com.
Most definitely. With that being said, remember this: do better is an action, be better is a lifestyle. I'm your host, Devin DeWan, and until next time, take care.
Peace.